All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live for one final time from the 336. Once again for episode 201 of the A15 Exchange. Last week was a madness. Appreciate all the love on episode 200 and just kind of, 200 episodes of this is absolutely crazy. But, I like the direction where we're going. This is the end of an era. Of course, you think 200 is the end of the era, but 201, last episode for a very, very long time. I actually will begin full-time work back in the 704, so that's why I'm moving back. So a lot of the episodes will be recorded. Of course, A15 is going, don't worry. This show is going absolutely nowhere, okay? Don't you worry. Ochobia is going nowhere. We will just be in a new location and we'll have like a new setup. Probably be on the couch. Ocho Reacts will probably be in my room again. It's like we're back in the college days. But yeah, we might have to deal with some production changes in the meantime, getting everything correct. But for that, we ain't going nowhere. This channel is not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. We will just be live from the 704. And yeah, 815 episodes will probably be recorded on Sunday. So Mondays might be, we'll see information-wise, what that ends up being like. And of course, football season, we got to, figure that out as well. But, we'll see that as it comes. But yeah, new exciting opportunities appearing. But yes, last episode in the chair with the mic, unless I end up taking this back home with me. I think it's just going to be staying here with this new desk. And yeah, so it's the end of an era. This past year, as I've said sometimes on this channel, when I've divulged into my personal life, was very challenging, but was also very important, I think, in terms of my overall growth as a human being. So I'm grateful for the times here. I'm grateful for all the episodes and, all the Ultra Reacts and all of the content we've made here. It's helped me really figure out what I wanted out of this channel, what I wanted out of this show. So eternally grateful. All right, eternally grateful to my hometown, to the 336. Shout out to Greensboro. Shout out to High Point. Shout out to the Jamestown. But yeah, we're going to be back live from the 704. The Prince returns for real. Even though I feel like I've said it a million times. Next week for episode 202, which is literally the day after I move. But yes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have stuff to talk about this week in sports. We're going to talk NCAA baseball. Yes, we have an actual baseball segment because I do have to talk about what the Yankees are doing and Aaron Judge just being the best hitter of all time, bar steroid Barry Bonds. Of course, we have Stanley Cup, finals going on. We have the NBA finals going on. Some very interesting developments going on there. I'm not going to really talk too much about the W because I feel like y'all have heard enough about the W in the past 24 days, and really this past week it just got tiring. So we probably won't talk too much about the W, but we do have something to talk about in racing. We have the NCAA championships. Sidney McLaughlin's a beast. Whole bunch of stuff. So as usual, get your food, get your drinks, get comfy. I know this has been a long intro, but yeah, we're going to get straight to it. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for can be provided in the description. All right, if you're looking for timestamps, they're in the video embedded. But also you can find them in the description. And if you want to follow me, so you can see where I am and what I'm doing, what I feel like divulging that information on social media, you can follow me there. And of course, stuff about, content on TikTok. So yeah, without further ado, let's hit the ice. Let's hit the ice. Ladies and gentlemen, we set it up last week. Connor the Great, Connor McJesus, Connor McDavid, the best player in the world, and the Edmonton Oilers finally made it to the dance, and awaiting them are now the two-time reigning defending Eastern Conference champions of Florida. Yes, the Florida Panthers, led of course by a T'Chuk and a couple Sams and one hell of a goalie, taking on the Edmonton Oilers here. We had game one. We got game two tonight, but let's talk about game one because boy, oh boy, oh boy. This has been the playoffs, as we said last week, of elite goaltending. Stealing games, winning games, making it happen in the big moments. This has been the playoffs of the goalie. While the Oilers have, of course, the top five, it seems like, of, the points. But this has been the year of the goalie. The playoff year of the goalie, at least. So on game one of the Stanley Cup Finals here in the apex of the NHL season, it's only fitting that we kick off with a great goalie performance. An all-time Stanley Cup final goalie performance from Sergei Bobrovsky. He hits 32 saves, 32 for Bob. He shuts the door on the most dominant offensive team in the world today, armed with the best player of this generation and a guy that's, not too far off in Leon. They shut him down. Sergei, the Panthers defense, the physicality. Of course, I talked about this last week. The physicality that we saw throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs, that we saw the Florida Panthers deal out and have to deal with, honestly paid dividends here in Game 1. They look like the battle test. They look like a team that was in the Stanley Cup final last year. That's gone through the gauntlet in the Eastern Conference, dealt with it, and they're ready. They're ready. They were very ready. Edmonton looked like, hey, lights are kind of bright. It's our first time here to dance. We don't really know what the moves are. Panthers got it done. Sergei Bobrovsky, like I said, absolutely wondrous, virtuoso performance from Bob. He was terrific. Carter Van Hege got his 10th goal, which I think pushed him up to 4th currently in the playoff standings. I actually might be second with like a multi-way tie with the Cup of the Oilers. I know Hyman's got the lead with 14. What a year he's having. But yeah, they couldn't produce. In this game, it was not to be. Barkov had 2 apples for, the leader, the captain of the Florida Panthers. So, yeah, all good stuff. Panthers with a very impressive Game 1 performance. To make a statement like that, to shut down the Oilers offense in that fashion, Bob, to go out, steal a Game 1 like that, that is absolutely huge and builds a lot of momentum for Florida going forward. Of course, we will see. Game 2 tonight, everything can change just like this when you got the best player in the world, but a hell of a statement from the Panthers to kick off what should be a very, very good series, like I said last week. I said we talking baseball. So let's talk baseball. And if we talking baseball, we gotta talk. I should have brought out the jersey. I might have to do it next week if this keeps up. Aaron Judge. Of course, the two probably, at this current time, probably the odds-on favorites. The two, great historical franchises of the MLB, the traditional powerhouses. Of course, being one, my favorite team, the New York Yankees, and the other, of course, being that super team in Los Angeles, known as the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, they faced off and they split the series. All right, we split the series. They dominated us. I mean, absolutely blitzkrieged us on Saturday. But we came back with a vengeance on Sunday. Again, I got to give a shout out to T.O. Oscar Hernandez. He had 3 home runs in this series. He was a beast. All right, T.O. Oscar Hernandez was a beast in the series for the Dodgers. Just another very, very talented player along a lineup of very talented players that the Dodgers have. But while we normally consider, and I wouldn't be mad at you if you said Shohei Ohtani is the best player in the world, it firmly looks like that 6'7" man we call the captain named Aaron Judge appears to be, in fact, the best player in the world, because boy, oh boy, has he been on fire. We thought it was just Aaron Judge, which is a different species, but maybe it's just Aaron Judge at this point. The Dodgers Stadium robbed us of probably one of the greatest 3-year sequences in the history of the league. That's all I can think about right now. Because Aaron Judge is on a tear of tears. He homers and puts this game away 6-4 as the Dodgers do not get the series sweep on the weekend. Yankees take it 6-4. Judge homered for his 24th. Yeah, T. Oscar had 3, but guess who did 2? AJ, who is now hitting, after hitting 196 to start the season, up to 305. Shout out to Miami. 305 for Aaron Judge, a 1.13 OPS, which is obscene and there's 2 players in the MLB, not just the American, in the MLB that have over a 1,000 OPS. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, who unfortunately is injured right now, but, I'd rather him sit out and, be preventative with this than, Soto being injured when we need him. But, yeah, it's just those 2. And then it's everybody else. And right now, when it comes to stepping in that batter's box and putting bat to ball, it's Aaron Judge and everybody else in the league. We're not even talking about just, hey, he might challenge for his own American League home run record. He might challenge for the Triple Crown this year. All right, he is on a rampage. Aaron Judge firmly looks like the best baseball player on the planet. And yeah, at this current moment, I don't know if you can really argue for it. He's just been a monster. He was a monster in this series. He was a monster last week. He was a monster last month. Aaron Judge looking like the best in the business. We will see if he can stay hot. But yeah, Judge just absolutely dominant. A historical run. And yeah, I want him to keep going because of course he debuted at 25, so he won't have the cumulative, stats maybe that a Hall of Famer, some of the great sluggers do, and maybe he does. Maybe he just ends up being great for the next 10 years and it works out. But in terms of like peak performance, we might have to, if he keeps this up, we might have to talk about Aaron Judge as one of the greatest hitters we've ever seen. So yeah, Judge cooking. Unfortunately, the MLB sent the New York Mets as a representative of baseball for their London series, which is kind of terroristic currently with how bad the Mets are this year. But you know what? They split the series. They won yesterday, so credit where credit's due. Pulled off an incredible double play to save the game at the end. So hey, why one New York team? The Yankees are arguably the best team in the league. The Mets, not so great, but you know what? They split the series in London. It was a lot of fun. Harper had that blast on Saturday, and then the celebration diving, that was really cool. And yeah, but the Mets. Even though positive yesterday, it's been a rough year because just everybody is underperforming on that team. Alonso's not like a great average hitter. Of course, the Polar Bear is known for his power, right? But he's only really got 14. He's only sitting at 14 right now. He's not really challenging for any of those leads. Not a bad total by any means. And he's only hitting 240. All right, not a great season from Alonso so far. And even worse, Francisco Lindor, one of the highest paid players in the game, once considered one of the best players in the game, some said he was the best shortstop in the game, is hitting 235. 2.5 months into the season. That's not great. If it was that first week we were talking about with Judge, okay. But 235 at this point in the season, and you're pretty much almost a net negative right now for the Mets. I don't know what his WAR is. It's not great. So yeah, the Mets, a very disappointing season so far, but they do split the London series. And like I said, it was a lot of fun. Philly's been doing really, really well, as we've documented here on the MLB segment before. But this isn't just the MLB segment. No, because NCAA baseball has been so entertaining, I had to let it have a major segment. I had to. You can't blame me. When you play the greatest, one of the possibly game of the year in baseball, regardless of level, I have to cover it. I have to. And that's what happened in the regional between Clemson and Florida. What an absolutely insane game. Craziness. I was at a film graduations yesterday. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to if you're a high schooler watching this. Shout out to congratulations on graduating. I had to do that, help stream graduations yesterday. So I was watching it on my phone and keeping updates. And I got home for the ending. What an insane game. All right, Florida advances to College World Series 11-10. We had everything in this game. Jack Caglione, top 5 pick this coming year. One of the best players in the country. Best two-way player in the country, widely considered. Jack Tani, even though he's not going to have a future in pitching, let's be real. But Cags almost gets in a brawl in this game. He also hit a home run in this game. Cam Cannarella, reigning defending ACC Freshman of the Year last year, not this year. It was all ACC, though, again this year. Probably one of the top outfield prospects, I would think, for next year. Had the greatest inning I've ever seen for a baseball player ever. Clemson is down, playing for their life, by the way. 9-6 here in the 9th inning. Top of the 9th. Cannarella goes yard. 3-run home run. Clemson absolutely losing their mind. He trots around the bases. They, ended out 9-9. Florida gets 2 men on base. 1 man on third. 2 outs to go. Huge pop fly. It's not going out, but it's going to be a very tough catch. But Cam Cannarella with one of the best catch of the year in baseball. I'm going to just say it. Catch of the year. He's zigzagging like he's trying to, Willie Mays-esque. Actually, not like a Joe, oh, wow, I was kind of no. Actually, Willie Mays-esque, catching center field. He's zigzagging trying to track the ball. It doesn't even catch it cleanly, actually. It bounces off of the wrist part of his glove, and he, catches it, with his wrist because it bounces off. It's just absolutely insane. Go watch the replay. Absolutely insane. So he saves Clemson twice. We end up going to the 13th inning of this game, and Florida finally walks Clemson off to send them home and send Florida back to the College World Series. But one of the most insane games of the year. We had over 20 runs. We had superstars, Canarella, Cags going absolutely insane in this game. Not a great game probably if you're a pitcher, but a very entertaining game if you're a neutral. Game of the year, Clemson, Florida. Go check out the highlights because I can't even with that long description of the highlights that I just gave you, doesn't put it into words. You have to see it. It was madness. But yeah, shout out to Florida for getting it done. It was a great week for Florida. We'll talk about that when we talk about the national championships in track and field, of course. That wasn't all. That wasn't all in NCAA baseball, of course. No. Yeah, Tennessee and Christian Moore, by the way, having a hell of a senior year. Hitting 370, 31 touchdowns. He's skyrocketing up draft boards. Tennessee, of course, the number one team in the land, got upset by Evansville in game 1. So a lot of people were like, uh-oh. Is this going to be are we going to have NCAA basketball times where Cinderella's about to take down a number 1? But no. It was not to be. Tennessee ends the Cinderella story. Christian Moore goes off. All right, like I said, I set this up. 2 home runs for Moore in this game. He's been phenomenal. Bargo also had 2 home runs. They won 12-1. All right, just completely wiped Evansville. Made a statement. We are the best team in the country. We're coming to prove it. Evansville, good job, good effort, but there are levels to this game, and that's what they showed. Christian Moore continues to have a dominant year. I know he's a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes, and he well deserves it because he's been a monster. We aren't done with the stars. I mean, I'm in. I'm locked in with NCAA baseball right now. Honestly, locked in, okay? Unfortunately, I have to talk about Carolina, but you know what? Fine, I'll give Chapel Hill their flowers because Vance Honeycutt is a dog. Vance is a dog. There's nothing else to say, but Vance Honeycutt is a dog, bro. He's a dog. Had a little bit of a down sophomore year, but boy, has he come back with a vengeance his junior year. Broke his own single-season home run record for, Chapel Hill. And also, while still being the best defender in college baseball out in center field, shout out to Cam Canarella, though, because maybe, he gets that, ACC State's in ACC next year. But, yeah, Honeycutt needs to be drafted. I don't know if it's 25 might not be high enough. With the bat working the way it's been, might not be high enough. Of course, this matchup, Carolina, West Virginia. West Virginia with their back against the wall after Vance Honeycutt, as I just said, walked him off on the first pitch he saw, or the last pitch technically, in the 9th inning, the game before in game 1. So game 2, Vance Honeycutt, if y'all don't know, he's the leadoff hitter for Carolina. He goes yard on the first pitch he sees. So technically, he went back-to-back himself in back-to-back games. Craziness. All right, Honeycutt, and that ends up being the winner because this game finishes 2-1. J.J. Weatherholt dealt with a lot of injuries. Another probable top 10 pick. In the MLB draft, fortunately couldn't get the bat running. West Virginia couldn't get the bat running, but Carolina's looked very, very strong this year throughout the year, even though they didn't win the ACC tournament. I went to Duke. But Vance Honeycutt has got them boys going. And yeah, Carolina looking very strong as they advance to the College World Series, enjoying the rest of the stars there. We'll be talking, I'm sure, a lot more about college baseball because it's just been so good this year. It usually is, but I don't know. It's just been elevated this year. I think it's just because there's such a really good draft class in terms of college batters. So a lot of those stars are starting to take precedent right now. And it's not like they're disappearing in the spotlight. They're like going off. So yeah, it's been very entertaining to watch. But yeah, that's baseball. Shout out to Aaron Judge, best player in the world. We might go sub 40 today. I'm not going to lie. Looking at my show notes in the time, we might go sub 40 today. No promises. But yeah, we don't really have too much to talk about. Entertainment, by the way. It's entertainment. We don't have too much to talk about. I'm sorry. Nothing is happening in entertainment. It was another dry week. I mean, I think Tim's dropped an album. I didn't get to listen to it because I was so busy. So if you did listen to Tim's album, shout out to the queen herself, my other wife. Let me know how. I heard it was good. So let me know. She's just got one of those voices. Hierarchy on Netflix dropped. I started watching that. That is so good. That is so good. It's a K-drama. For my K-drama watchers, Hierarchy, you probably heard of it. I don't know. It's pretty popular. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of popping right now. But it's good. I've seen the first 2 episodes. They're cooking. I'm addicted. I'm hooked. All right, I'm hooked. So Hierarchy, very good. Of course, next week we will be back. All right, the entertainment segment will be back firmly. Actually, that's a good point. Because House of the Dragon does happen to come on a Sunday night. and I would have to film before that. So we might film the entertainment segment separately. We'll see. All right, we'll see. We'll see what we can do for that. We might do something a little special for that. But House of the Dragon is coming back next week, so we will have something at least hopefully to talk about in the entertainment segment. Music wise, Aitch and Luciano team back up for Baddies, which is actually very very good. Yeah, Aitch has been on a little. I rock with Aitch. Aitch has been on a little bit of a cooking spree right now. Him, Bia, and Luciano had a really good track last year. I forget the name of it, but I was rocking with that. And yeah, they team back up here. Luciano, one of the top German rap artists. So yeah, you want to check that out overseas. We're staying in Europe. Baddies, very good. East Coast sign for me. Hetty also dropped. I wasn't really rocking with the song. I gotta listen to it again. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, nothing too crazy to talk about in entertainment. But we do have stuff to talk about in the National Basketball Association. Oh boy. Yeah, this is why I didn't make a prediction. Honestly, this is why. Because even though the Mavs had momentum and Luka was looking like Luka, and I've talked about it, that was my clip, my featured clip last week, was me calling Luka the best player in the world, which he's done nothing to disprove, by the way. It's just that the Celtics are actually showing up, which I'm proud of. Because I needed them to show me something, and you know what? They're actually showing me something. Jason Tatum's leaving a little bit to be desired, but the Celtics as a team are showing me something. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. All right, Kristaps Porzingis has completely altered the series. Completely. Without Porzingis, I think the Mavs have a little bit better of a chance to be up, maybe even 2-0. But with Porzingis and what he does defensively, what he does offensively, the presence he brings to that Celtics team, he completes them. And it's a problem because the Mavs have nobody that can match up with him. What he did in Game 1 broke Dallas in Game 1. Broke them because they just had no answer. He was hitting every shot from 3 inside. And then the defense. The Celtics jumped on the Mavericks in this series. Jumped on them in Game 1. Put it on them. And a big reason why was because Porzingis looked fresh. Porzingis looked like a superstar. He looked like Wemby in 2030 in Game 1. And he was still very solid again in Game 2. Of course, Jaylen Brown stole a little bit of the show also in Game 1. JB finishes with 21, 4, and 7, if you were wondering. But it was Drew Holiday. All right, it was Drew Holiday doing Drew Holiday stuff. And this is the thing with the Celtics. They got so many different players that can just pop up and have great performances outside of JT, JB, and even if you want to call Kristaps and make it like a big three, you still got Derek White. You still got all these players that can make it happen. Drew made it happen in this game. 26 and 11 for Drew. Of course, known for the defense, but he had the offensive game working here in Boston again for Game 2. So yeah, a virtuoso performance from Drew Holiday. He was terrific. JT went 6 for 22. He hasn't been great in this series. I'm not gonna lie. From a scoring perspective, I will say, I don't want to discount the rest of his game, and I feel like he's getting a lot of slander because he's supposed to be the superstar, right? And the superstar doesn't shoot 6 for 22 and is failing to lead his team, in scoring in the championship. That doesn't happen if you're the guy, if you're supposed to be one of the best players in the world. But, for what it's worth, JT has contributed and flirted with a triple-double in both games and been able to affect the game in multiple ways. Defensively, and of course, 9 assists, 12 rebounds. It's 18, 9, and 12 is not bad. 6 for 22 is bad. The efficiency needs to be better, and he needs to take... I don't know if he necessarily has to be, as we've seen in these first 2 games, be this dominant scorer for them to win the championship this year. But he needs to be better. Just to clinch it. Because I don't know if Luka, even with his battered body, he still had 32, 11, and 11. It's clear who the best player in this series is. And I don't think Luka's just going to go out like a punk. He's not getting punked. He's going to go out on his shield. So I do think Tatum needs to give a little bit more. He needs to be a little bit better. I don't know if he's winning Finals MVP, but, JT needs to be better and look like one of the best players in the world, though he is affecting the game in other facets, and I think that does need to be, highlighted and given his flowers for. But yeah, a lot of discussion now about whether Jaylen Brown might be the best player on that team, which is, I don't know about that. But the Celtics are up 2-0, and that is what matters. Like I said, Luka had a triple-double, but it was not enough. He is fatigued. Kyrie has to be better. He has to be better. We can't. Kyrie can't do this. He can't do this thing where we see Kyrie and he does a highlight and he closes out a game, and I call him the best closer in the league or one of the best closers of all time, and we talk about how he should have been on the top 75 list, and we circle jerk. We can't do that. Kai, I love you. You got to show up. 7 for 18 is not going to cut it against the Celtics team. You can talk about the animosity and the rivalry you have with Boston, but you got to show up. You also got to show up. And while you didn't have a bad game, you got to be your best. You got to be Kyrie Irving. We can't get the diluted version of Kyrie. Kyrie has to be Kyrie. Luka can't do this himself. This Celtics team is loaded. They're more talented than the Mavs. On paper, they wipe the Mavs down. Let's be real. If Luka's the best player, the Celtics might have the next best 5 players. Depending on how you feel about Kyrie right now. Kyrie got to show up. That's all I'm saying. It's my dog. Love him. I don't love him as much as the internet loves him. He's a dude guy, though. But he got to show up. He got to be better than 7. You need superstar. If people still think Kyrie's a superstar, you need superstar Kyrie to show up for the Mavs to win this series. Of course, they need Lively and Gafford to get that dog back in them that they seemingly have lost the past 2 games. They need that back, and they need somebody else to step up. Because like I said, this Missoula's got these Celtics ready. All right, they are ready. They are rising to the occasion. That team, not JT, but that team is rising to the occasion, and they will sweep the Mavericks. That will happen. We can talk about next week, and this series could be over. They will do that. This is not like, oh, they're going to collapse. I don't think that's happening. The Mavs have to rise to the occasion and have to steal the day, so we will see what happens. But yeah, not looking great right now if you are the Dallas Mavericks, and the Boston Celtics have to be in bliss. Now, for honestly what the actual main event of the entire episode is, and that is the Roundup, because it's absolutely, good God. I had a couple, could have been major segments in here, because I had too much to talk about that was just like extra notary stuff, and I didn't really want to make it a main subject. So Roundup is kind of lit today. F1. Psych, we not going F1 first. We going NASCAR because wow, Sonoma was drama-filled. Martin Truex Jr. runs out of gas in the Cup Series. MTJ runs out of gas on the last lap. So Kyle Larson gets the win at Sonoma. So yeah, shout out to Hendrick Motorsports. Get another win. Greatest team in the history of the sport. Get another one. Kyle Larson. After the disappointment 2 weeks ago with, not being able to do the double, a little bit more happiness. A little bit more happiness this week in Sonoma. And a little bit of luck. But it wasn't just the Cup Series. No, the Xfinity Series. SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, of course, the supercar legend, came over to NASCAR. Now he's running full-time in the Xfinity. And he's a hell of a road course guy. All right, as you would expect from a supercar driver the caliber of SVG. Him and Austin Hill now have the premier rivalry that appears in the sport. All right, him and Hill get into it. Hill, of course, again, for the second year in a row. Multiple times this has happened now. They get into it. SVG ends up winning the race and then does the greatest burnout of all time. Just trailing behind. Literally drifting and dragging and burning out through the entire track behind Austin Hill on purpose while Hill gives him the finger. It was electric. All right, it was beautiful. The game is not gone, as we say. The game is not gone. So yeah, that was beautiful. SVJ and Austin Hill, I love it. I love it. That was so petty, but I love it. Shout out to SVG. But yeah, Sonoma delivers the drama. The Canadian Grand Prix was absolute chaos. All right. Ferrari was still hungover from winning in Monaco. I'm not going to lie. They were clearly hungover. They didn't even have it in practice. So, yeah, Carlos and Charles end up out of this race. So, disaster for Ferrari. Williams. Logan does well all week and then just absolutely just doesn't have it at all. At all in the race. He ends up crashing out. And then Alex, unfortunately, after a great race from him, including one of the best overtakes of the year, gets crashed out. He crashes out as well. So yeah, just an absolute disaster for Ferrari and Williams, which, Sainz might be going to Williams. So we'll see what happens there. That might be a direct trade. So a little correlation. Checo Perez. Listen, I don't want to be a Checo hater, But how long can we keep doing this, bro? Honestly, I'm asking, how long do we have to keep pretending with Checo? King of the streets, number 2. Was he the best number 2? Like, how long can we keep doing this, bro? He's not that guy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He's a good guy, but he's just not that guy. He don't got it. He don't got it. How many times can he miss Q1 in the best car on the grid before we're like, yo, it's a little bit of a problem? And it's not even like last year, because the car isn't as dominant as last year, where he's just able to sneak through the field and we can be like, oh, he's got the most overtakes. That's not happening. He's getting cooked. He's getting cooked. He got out-qualified by Logan Sargent. No disrespect to Logan. Yuki is better than him. Honestly, he might be on the same level as Danny Rick, who had a really good week this week after he got slandered by Villain Wave. But why are we... Liam Lawson. You got all... Isaac Hadger. Y'all got all these, juniors begging for an opportunity. But yeah, let's re-sign Checo and watch him shit the bed again in Canada. And it happens every week. Every single week. He's not that guy. I'm sorry. But it wasn't all bad for Red Bull. Max did win this race because Lando got shafted on the safety car. But he said karma. So, hey, game is game. Game is game. Max, by the way, fair play. Fair play. This was a chaotic race. And fortune favors the best. Not the bold, but the best. And Max is the best. So he gets the win. Reaffirms his place atop of the standings after Charles was getting very, very close. But Charles gets his first DNF for the year. So, yeah, unfortunate for Ferrari there. Lando and Oscar are putting pressure on the constructors, though. All right, they are cooking up something in McLaren. Mercedes returned to form this week. George Russell did a Mr. Saturday, took pole, and finished third. Lewis has not been his best. I think that goes without saying. He got passed by George for third. He said it was his own fault. So, but still, it's good to see Lewis, fighting for podiums again, because it's been a little bit of a minute for the greatest of all time. But yeah, Canada was chaos. Shout out to Montreal for delivering. But with all that, Max still won by like over 2 seconds. So, NCAA track and field though. NCAA track and field. The guys, Florida won. All right, there's no real superstars. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no real superstars in men's track and field right now. The guys that look like they might become superstars kind of choked this weekend, but credit to Florida, because that 4x4, really the 400 guys, the 200 guys, they just points everybody to death. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. All right, Mr. Holloway, Coach Holloway, you are the GOAT. You are the GOAT, my friend. Men's Florida, women Arkansas, because they have the best 4x4 team in the history of college. It's ridiculous. How do you have 4 people in the final of a sprinting event? They had 4 different women in the final of the women's 400. And they finished 1, 2, 3, 4 by a distance, by some lengths. And then smoked the college record in the 4x4. Obscene. They got 28 points out of one event, so you know how that goes. Florida stood no chance to get in the double. Arkansas, they've ran the show this year in track and field, so they do win the women's game thanks to that elite 4x4. Though it wasn't all bad for the Gators, for the Lady Gators. Parker Valby, the women's distance GOAT at this point, capped the perfect year by winning cross country, the indoor 5K, the indoor 10K, the outdoor 5K, and the outdoor 10K this weekend. So yeah, Parker with all of her national championships. Please go win us some gold medals this year. She's a beast. Yeah, shout out to Parker. Absolute beast. Nothing else needs to be said. I don't know how she does it, but yeah, she's great. Parker Valby. That's why she got the Nike contract. She's a star. Sydney McLaughlin is also a star. 48.75 for the world lead in the Open 400. She's running the 400 hurdles again. Right? She's going for her world record again, to break it again. And I have no doubt she's going to make the team. God willing. No injuries, no falls. It would be a disservice to the sport. Not to America, to the sport, if Sydney doesn't make the Olympics for whatever reason. But my goodness. Sid the Kid is really just Sid the GOAT at this point. She has the world lead. This was her first 400 of the year, by the way. The world lead in the 400, the 400 hurdles, And she just ran the 200 just to get some sprint work to work on that kick. Yet it's the second best time in the world this year. She nearly has the world lead in 3 different events. The Open 4 was the first of the year, and she nearly broke the American record. She's one of the best athletes, pound for pound, man or woman, on the planet. I'm sorry. Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni, gotta, shout to her husband. Great man, by the way. Sid is her. Sid is her. The epitome. Like, if you look up her in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, if you look up the word her, there's going to be a giant picture of Sydney McLaughlin crossing the finish line with everybody else like 5 seconds behind her. Because that's what keeps happening. Sydney is on a different level. A lot of people were wondering, is the injury going to slow her down? Absolutely not. Sid is still Sid, and she is dominating as ever. And like I said, God willing, she makes it perfectly healthy, perfectly fine to the Olympics, because I want to see something historic, and it's looking like it might happen. No disrespect to Femke, she's a dog too, but Sydney McLaughlin is different. All right, now for the French Open. Like I said, this is the greatest roundup of all time. Okay, this is the longest roundup I've probably ever done as well. But yeah, just so much to cover. But we have the French Open, which I watched. Let's get it out of the way before I talk about the men. All right, Iga Swiatek is ain't nobody touching Iga. Ain't nobody touching Iga. Like nobody. Nobody is touching Iga. She wins at Roland Garros again. This is getting kind of Nadal-esque, and Clay, I'm not gonna lie, Iga, you're starting to show signs of Nadalism. I'm just gonna be honest with you. She's showing signs. All right, a third, or is this 4th? No, I think it's her 3rd, right? This is her 3rd straight French Open win, I believe. Or is it? It could be 4. At this point, I'm not gonna lie. Again, by the way, Jasmine Paolina had a great run. Representing for the Italians alongside Sinner. First time, both of them in the semifinals, 2 Italians, so men's and women's. Had a great run, but Iga Swiatek is the best player in the world for a reason, and she showed it because she absolutely smoked. Sparks Paolina in straight sets. In under an hour, or it was like just over an hour and 8 minutes, I think it was. Just completely dominant. Completely dominant. It's Iga Swiatek, then like Sab and Coco and like Rybakinov, and then it's everybody else. It's everybody else in this game right now. Iga's on a different level, and she proved it in the French Open once again, best player in the world. On the men's side, who's the best player in the world? Of course, Djokovic had a bow out after he tore his meniscus. Don't know long. Again, like I said last week, might be the end of an era. So there's 2 guys that have stepped up and said, you know what? We're the next ones. Carlos Alcaraz, and the man who is now, as of today, the new number 1 player in the world, Jannik Sinner. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, honestly, they've matched up once again in a major semi, or just in a major. Honestly, it's great whenever they play, especially in majors, though. Of course, we cannot ever forget about that U.S. Open match. But for the first time, they match up in the semifinals. Not the final yet, one day. But Alcaraz does deliver the goods, even though it was a very sloppy match. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It wasn't the most beautiful tennis until those last 2 when Carlitos went into the flow state and just was on a different mode. But Carlitos takes out Sinner in one hell of a match. A great duel between the future of the sport. So it left us. Could Carlitos get it done against Alexander Zverev, who has not been... Sasha has been in some heat. Of course, he had the DV case ongoing, got dropped this week. I won't speak on that because I don't really, want to divulge too much into that situation. I just hope that, whatever judgment is being passed is the correct one. All right, that's all I will say about that. But Sasha makes it to the French. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried for Carlos. And during this match, I got proven right because Sasha can go. He could, especially on clay. He was playing some great tennis. Carlos was out of the flow state. He was frustrated. But Carlos Alcaraz is a different breed. He is a different man. He is just a different animal. In these 5 setters, which he is now 11-1 after he claims his first ever French Open against Zverev after winning the last 2 sets, he is a different monster in these 5th sets. I've never seen anything like it. But he said it himself, you have to enjoy the suffering. And Carlitos clearly enjoys the suffering and the pain he gives his fans by making it as stressful as possible, though it's probably great for neutrals. But it was very stressful watching him, okay? Because he will either play like prime-fed Nadal, baby love child, or he's going to make the most frustrating mistakes you'll ever see. But I guess that's what happens when you're 21. And he's now the youngest man to ever complete the surface career slam. He's now won on grass. He's now won on a hard court. And he has now won on clay. Youngest man to ever do it. Beats Nadal's record. That is, of course, talking about Grand Slams. Not just any tournament. But in Grand Slams. Just the youngest to ever do it by over a year. Just absolutely crazy. He's going to have 3 chances to beat the career slam record. Also held by Nadal. I mean, he was drop shotting Zverev. Let's talk about the match first off. The drop shots of death. Even though Alex did a great job of covering for the most part, but just he is the best shot maker I think I've seen since Roger, honestly. Roger's my favorite. Of the big 3 or the big 4. Fed was always my favorite. I was Club Fed. But I haven't seen someone that is his shot making and his touch that good since Fed. All right, Carlitos is just a different breed. He can hit every shot from every angle, and he will. And in these big moments, when some people break mentally and it gets too big, he loves it. He loves it. He rises. He enters the flow state. That's the only way to put it. Is Carlitos enters the flow state, and once he's in the flow state and he's screaming "Vamos," it's done. It's done. You're done. You can't get him out, especially when it's the 4th ASOS championship set. Forget about it. Forget about it. It's done. It's done. Carlitos just locks in, and he locks in like nobody else right now. And yeah, looked like the best player in the world. I mean, it wasn't his best performances. Like, he wasn't like perfect. But I think you'd be hard-pressed to say there's a better player in the world right now, even discounting what Sinner's done this year. Just Carlitos winning that head-to-head, it's just, man, he's just different. He's just different, generational. Like, we talk a lot about generational talents, especially lately in sports. And I think I probably said this when he won Wimbledon last year. But Carlos Alcaraz is a generational talent. Absolutely generational. It is. We wondered, like, what was going to happen after Fed and Joker and Nadal and even Andy when they were gone. Who was going to pick up the torch? Because the 90s guys, while still very good and there's still time for them to win, they're only like 28, like the oldest of them. I think it was Daniil. They still got time to win, Grand Slams, win majors. But nobody really looked like they were going to pick up the torch. Was going to be the next one. And then Carlos came. And since he arrived, he has unapologetically been the next one. And not like as a gimmick. He has proven it time after time after time against the best we have to offer in the game today. And it's made me a fan. It's made a lot of y'all fans. And yeah, I just love. He plays a beautiful brand of tennis, and he's a great ambassador for the sport right now. And I want to see him just keep going and break everything. Break everything, Carlitos. Break everything. But hopefully he gets that Australian next year, because that would be dope to see him, break that record too. But Carlitos continues to thrill and excite. A lot of people were worried, hey, does Carlos have form again? French Open champion. Does that answer your question? He took over Roland Garros. But that's the new Spanish king in tennis, is the prince. We knew what was up. And to end off, ladies and gentlemen, Mbappe signed with Real Madrid. I don't want to go into it because we talked about this literally throughout the entire year. I even said it last week. Literally 30 minutes before it happened and I ended the episode, I was like, yeah, he's probably going to sign this week. So, Mbappe, Galacticos, official. But, Euros is starting this week, I believe. So, international. It's time for the internationals, boys. In the build-up to the Olympics, it's time for Euros, Copa, even though I don't want to talk about America and what happened against Colombia. Shout out to Miggy. Shout out to Migo. It was a great time for you, and I'm glad you were able to convert all those fans, but it was misery for me. We need to get that together, or Greg Berhalter needs to get up out of here. But yeah, Euro starts this week. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about that next week. But for now, Ocho signing off.